Hello and welcome to Charch Chat. I am Paul Charchian from LeagueSafe.com. Thank you for joining us here at Open Sports. A couple of key firings recently that I want to talk about and the fantasy implications that may go with them. We begin with the Matt Millen firing, and then we'll dive into the Lane Kiffin firing. With Matt Millen, I see very little change here because the coaching staff didn't change, so there's not going to be a real change in philosophy. Millen primarily responsible for personnel. We're not going to see a major personnel overhaul until at earliest the trading deadline. And there is a chance that Roy Williams could get traded at the trading deadline, but I actually think there's less of a chance that happens with Millen out because you don't know for sure that there's anybody right now while they look for a new president, CEO, GM to make that kind of call. Is there somebody inside that Lions organization that's going to say, Roy Williams, last year in his contract, we're going to make the decision not to pay him and trade him now? I just don't think there's somebody there that does that, which is too bad because Williams is a really good talent, and I'd love to see him on a different team where maybe he'd be the lock number one guy. I think he'd like that too. Where right now Calvin Johnson really appearing to be that guy. They're tinkering at the running back position as well. We've now seen Rudy Johnson's going to be the starter over Kevin Smith. Smith hadn't looked that good, and frankly, I'm just not sold that Rudy Johnson has got any more ability left in him than Kevin Smith has. This is a bad offensive line, and that's the real problem in Detroit. An offensive line that does not do a good job of opening holes, and Rudy Johnson's not a guy who makes things happen. I mean, if you give him a hole, he'll run through it. There are a lot of guys like that. I don't see a lot here. I think he will be a more effective goal line guy because he's a bigger back, but I don't see. In fact, I'm going to go as far as say I think they're going to go back and forth between these two before the season's out, and I don't believe Rudy Johnson's going to hold this spot between now and the rest of the season. Let's go to Lane Kiffin. A little more recent news. Kiffin's departure opens the door for their offensive line coach, Tom Cable, to come in. And, when line guys come in, they tend to like to do the things that offensive linemen like to do, and that's run the ball, right? Offensive linemen love to just set up and hit guys. They don't like to have to back up and dance on the back of their feet. They don't like pass blocking. This is a team that's built for running first anyway, and they ran so well last year. And the running this year's been a little more inconsistent despite the fact they've got more talent at the running back position with Darren McFadden. I think they're going to recommit to the run. They're still running a lot, but I think they're going to run better. I think they're going to run more often now. And, the problem from a fantasy perspective is, well, okay, great, they're going to run more, but who's going to run the ball? Well, McFadden's got this turf toe injury, and what we know about turf toe is that it doesn't get better over the course of the season. It takes a lot of time and usually just time off. Now, he does run on natural grass. That does help, but it just means that the turf toe doesn't get a lot worse on game day as it might on an artificial surface, even field turf. So, a lot of frustration here with McFadden, what he's going to be able to do. Michael Bush still seems like the best guy. Then you got Justin Fargas, who's going to be healthy in a couple of weeks, and he comes back and, he further pollutes the running back situation. So, it's really still hard for fantasy guys to get a great grip on this. Now, one of the things that Al Davis did let slip is that Lane Kiffin wasn't crazy about Jamarcus Russell. Now, you look at how they were using Jamarcus Russell, and you could kind of see it, right? I mean, it was just tiny, short passes. I mean, Russell's, I believe his average completions are on 5 yards, and that's terrible by NFL standards. Don't be surprised here if now, Al Davis has really exerted a lot of control, and clearly he's the one in charge. He's going to call the shots. If they don't start heaving the ball downfield a little bit more, I'm not saying you want to necessarily go get Jamarcus Russell. I think they were reining him in for a reason, that if he was a great downfield passer or natural, they'd already have used him that way. But I think they're going to try more. They're going to take more shots, and if interceptions don't hurt you, he might have a little more value here as they try some big plays. Some will connect, some won't. And if you're not going to get dinged for the interceptions, then those that do connect, that much better. Maybe Javon Walker, who's long been dropped in a lot of leagues, ends up having a little bit of value here. Zach Miller is a dump-off guy. Seems to have been their best guy receiver to this point, and that will still probably continue, but maybe he catches balls a little further downfield. So there we go. Breaking down some of the new personnel changes with two cities, and I, again, as always, appreciate you checking us out here at Open Sports.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.